force and power. Force and power. Cause we got force and power.
Welcome to One Black Man's Opinion podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad. One Black Man's Opinions podcast is brought to you by NTE Planning Consultants, where equity is the basis for resilience in community development, and Silicon Bayou Houston, 22nd century solutions for 21st century problems. This is Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad, and you're listening to One Black Man's Opinion. The Breonna Taylor grand jury in Louisville has returned an indictment against ex-officer Brent Hankerson in connection with her killing. Wanton endangerment. 3 counts of wanton endangerment. Not manslaughter, not murder in the second degree, not murder in the first degree, but wanton endangerment. Brothers and sisters, at a certain point in time, we have to come to the conclusion, as Kwame Nkrumah advised us, that it's better that we govern or misgovern ourselves than to be governed by others. The great Reverend William Barber, in the moral movement out of North Carolina, says that we're in a third Reconstruction. A third Reconstruction. The question is, what happened to the first 2? The Compromise of 1877 put Rutherford B. Hayes, the 19th President of the United States, in office, where he withdrew the federal troops, thereby introducing the career of Jim Crow. 1968 was a contentious presidential election where Governor George Wallace, an avowed segregationist, ran, and Richard M. Nixon, the Republican, ran on a platform of law and order, which is a code word to put them people back in their place. And that was followed by the Reagan Revolution of the 80s. And so, we elected President Barack Obama, and under his regime, the Supreme Court gutted the Voters' Rights Act. Now, brothers and sisters, if we're in a third Reconstruction, I think we need to pay attention to the words of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he said, "The Civil Rights Bill and the integration will not stand and never bring independence to you and your people, no matter who is president." We have to understand the nature of the political system that we're dealing with. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says the fundamental motivation in this society is greed and preying upon the weak of the country and the weak of the world versus sharing wealth and cooperation with the weak and the poor. He goes on to say that gross vanity, greed, lust, and inordinate self-interest has divided the country along lines of class, race, and sex. What we need is a solution. We need a solution that is good, that is universal, that is permanent, and enforced. Now, during the Million Man March, it was followed up in 2000 with the Million Family March, and there was a national agenda for 2000-2008 that called for political empowerment through citizen education programs and seminars. But if we're not understanding what we're dealing with, brothers and sisters, then we are never going to be successful. I say to you, as I've said on many occasions, that what we're looking at is something that we don't seem to grasp what it is that we're dealing with. No matter how outrageous President Trump's actions and words are, he remains the Teflon Don. Now, he has William Barr as his Bruce Cutler. He was known as Cut 'em Loose Bruce. He was John Gotti's attorney. And now he has William Barr in control of the Justice Department. And he has seemed to have Teflon all over the president. So what's at stake? The present circumstance where we find that Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away after a brief moment of mourning. The fight is going to take place to replace her. And no matter how much we whine and cry about the hypocrisy of the Republican-controlled Senate, they're still going to hammer this thing through. And you know what's at stake? According to the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York, the health care bill is in danger. Union organizing is in danger. Voters' Rights Act is in danger. Environmental laws such as the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act is in danger. Civil rights are in danger. So what we're watching, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan pointed out to us in February of 2000, we're watching the unraveling of a great nation. He posed a question like this. He said, what will you do if Trump gets a second term? What will you do? See, the hatred that's building for him because God has allowed him to be president. The minister went on to say, do you think that God is interested in who sits in the White House that holds sway over his people that he has chosen to be his people? He, meaning Trump, Minister Farrakhan says, has a work to do. Does he? What kind of work does God have for him to do? He's doing it. Isn't this the government that's been giving us hell ever since we've been in America? And look at Trump going after the FBI. You remember J. Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO? Do you think that ended with the destruction of our organization, the destruction of our leaders? Brothers and sisters, the Brother Jabril points out in a book called This is the One, the most vexing, delicate, and complicated of all the world's difficulties involve the condition and position of America's 40 to 50 million black ex-slaves. And I'd like to add on to that, the Native Americans who have suffered genocide and literally the destruction of their way of life and the confiscation and stealing of their whole country. We're entering in the dawn of a new day. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Fall of America, the fall of a nation makes way for another as the earth continues. All nations and their civilizations are limited upon it, except the original nation, which takes on renewals and changes. I close like this. This is not about Republican or Democrat or third party. This isn't about liberal, conservative, or moderate. No label such as socialism, communism, capitalism fits this. This isn't East Coast versus West Coast. This isn't Gulf Coast versus any other coast. This isn't red state versus blue states. This boils down to one thing and one thing only. Power. Power. Who has it and how they use it. And as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. But I add this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said power concedes nothing without the demand backed by power. Until we organize, until we get the truth, until we set an agenda, we will never be powerful. So, brothers and sisters, let's get the truth, let's get organized, and let's get free. This is one black man's opinion. What's yours? I'm Brother Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad.